Hello, hello. This is Kiss Recovery 101. This is Bridge Sky here, your host for the evening. It is Sunday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I've had quite an amazing weekend. But what I'm just really thankful for and grateful for is I have a fantastic guest with me. Um, and I don't have to do a whole lot of talking. I can sit back and let her share her wisdom, her experience, her strength, and her hope. And this month is special to me. This is Pride Month. And so that is a whole other fantastic community. And I love when you can just mesh things together and they go well together. And recovery and the LGBTQ plus community just go hand in hand, I think. So anyway, but guess I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, and feel free to just tell the listeners who you are, where you're at in your life, what brought you here, how we met. I don't know, whatever comes to your mind, but you got the floor. You just let me know when you want to step in.
Thank you, Bridge. This is Grace Lansing. I am greeted here today by the lovely Bridge. Happy to be here. I do go by she, her, they, them. I am a recovering alcoholic, addict, and I am queer. This is my first sober Pride, so definitely a new chapter in the stage of recovery. And a lot of feelings definitely rushing in. I think, most prides have been filled with so much energy and excitement. It's led me directly to habits that have now led me to podcasts such as this. And, what brings me joy really is community. And I'm learning the different facets of what community can bring. I know last Pride was filled with a lot of drinking, a lot of running around, not necessarily feeling very present. And I am close to 7 months sober and
That's what's up.
feeling waves of emotion as we reach the end of Pride weekend, but also just so much centering, I think. It's one thing you'd think would be, would come natural, but I would say recovery has taught me the most around what it means to feel grounded. So, been able to pace myself. I am 31. I don't know if age is relative here, but it might bring a bit more perspective to anyone who might listen to this afterwards. I came out when I was 16 in high school. Technically, I came out to my best friend when I was 13, but let's be real. Maybe when I was 6, I knew. And yeah, I'm not sure if my folks are ever going to listen to this, but it is kind of a funny and cringeworthy story of my coming out day. I had gotten caught smoking weed in high school, and I ended up getting picked up by my folks, and I was sat down on the couch and they asked what was going on. Something was off. I was acting up. I wasn't myself. My mothers always seem to know. I just remember feeling so afraid, beyond just the idea of getting caught, but there was something in me that needed to tell them that I was gay. And not only, it was kind of a twofold. So in the rush of emotions, I came out, and I remember my mother thought it was a ridiculous moment to come out. She thought that was escape 101 to getting Um,
Distract.
yeah. But, I think that it brings up a really monumental moment for what was going on in my body and my spirit, which is that as much as I tried running from a part of myself, and as much as I thought use, and, we don't need to be specific as to what I was using, but that I needed to use something to filter who I was at such a young age, kind of came to surface. And with two people that have watched me grown up from the beginning. At that time, I thought it was obvious. I had always hung out with boys, always involved with quite literally everything the guys were up to, and my aesthetic was not necessarily the most feminine, and with a low voice, you get a lot of double takes. But it was I think when you can say it out loud, it feels a little different. And when you can allow your narrative to become kind of this living entity outside of yourself, you can breathe a little easier. Now, as far as my addiction goes, it's another story. And they kind of went in opposite directions. I was coming out and I felt enlightened. I felt empowered. I felt righteous. I wanted to expose everything I could to make my identity feel heard. And my addiction went the opposite direction. It went pretty far inward. It was silenced, and I really took for granted, I think, a lot of the emotional elements that I was battling, like trauma. And I know trauma is a big word and shouldn't be something that should be shed lightly. But it took many years to start being able to outwardly render, I think, habits that really started to recreate a different identity, other than just being queer. And I thought by coming out, I was being honest with who I was, but I wasn't. I lost parts of my story. I wanted so easily to not remember the most painful memories of my body, and the most painful memories of my spirit. And those are the things we consider to be what we're celebrating on weekends like this. So as much as I want to do the dance of, I'm here, I'm queer, I'm ready to rally, I'm also a broken person too. And I have suffered. I am confused. And it wasn't until 7 months ago, and even before then, I tried to get sober on my own. And those that have done it, call me. Curious. I really lost the realization that I had a lot more work to do than just name who I was. And, I think that my story as far as the alcohol abuse is interesting because it happened in waves. It wasn't until the pandemic when a lot became very difficult, far heavier, and isolation took place. I'm an extremely social person, and when I started drinking alone, it spiraled, and I had my first seizure with my partner at the time, um, and their family, and that was devastating. And that was from withdrawal. About a year later, the same thing happened. Um, that was with my family and my partner at the time. So I, um, I think one thing I saw a friend share something this weekend that actually really caught my eye. It was the integrity of the body. Once they had become sober, they've been sober for 8 years now. And just recently, they've started to feel fully connected to their body. And I realized that in the awakening of, identity and sacrifice and what it means to honor, every minute you've got on this planet, the last thing I was considering was my body. I was trying so hard to appear well and capable to everyone else except the temple that was surrounding what I had to offer. And I think the biggest thing for me, the grief element, they always ask you, what do you grieve now? And it could take a lifetime to really break through that grief of the time lost. And I would say I definitely grieve my body the most. I was disconnected to it for so long. And I know this all sounds so somber, but I just have a somber voice. This is actually just how I speak.
This is
but
powerful.
yeah, but overall, I do feel actually amazing today. And I think, the true tale ultimately is that I think coming out for me personally in my own growth is more than just sexuality and gender. It is who you are as you grow through every stage and element that our social construct has provided you to move through, and who you become through that growth. And I would say coming out as an addict right now might be more difficult, if I'm being honest, because it's a narrative and a conversation that I have to continue having with myself every day, every second. And it's not to say that this is like that for everyone. This is just my own personal experience. This also could be certainly something that comes from a place of privilege. I do have a very major support network in regards to, my queerness and my gender queerness. But right now, addiction, to be sober and queer, it's like I'm coming out on all fronts all over again. And I cannot tell you how amazing it feels to be clear in this story. So that is where I am today. I am going to rest my case for now. And yeah.
Okay. I have a couple things that came to mind. I keep repeating them in my head so I don't forget them. First of all, that was very powerful. I connected a lot with that. I mean, just flashbacks in my brain of all these moments that I thought I had to label myself, or it's wrong to have these feelings, and that was even before my addictions. But I want to ask you, because I never got that opportunity to openly, tell my family. My family's then, it was adoptive family, it was in quotes. They didn't even know who I was, first of all. So I felt like it would be pointless to even say that. But to state where I was. But really, just for me, I felt like I had to hide a lot. And I feel like, so anyway, now we're not talking about me. Let's talk about you. Okay, so my question that jumped in my head is that key moment in your life when you sat on that couch and, just threw two big things at him, right? What was the reaction? So I know you said that you felt empowered, that you got to disclose that identity. However, did you even think, so there was the weed thing out there, right? So did they first of all, was your family accepting? Did you get any pushback on that? And then did the weed thing, did they just kind of like put that aside? Like, what was the bigger issue with them there? Like, can you explain more of just like how your family really responded to both those things? If you don't mind, if you feel comfortable, whatever you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I will say they were more concerned about the marijuana.
Okay.
By far.
Okay.
I have two parents that are very liberal, but this isn't to say that it's necessary. It's one thing to name that you accept your child for who they are, but it's another to grow with them along that road. Mm-hmm. That part wasn't easy.
Okay.
But in the moment, my mother, bless her heart, if you're hearing this, definitely exchanged words as if she did not believe me at first and thought that I was definitely covering up the fact that I was getting myself into trouble. Mm-hmm. And my father, on the other hand, was a bit more quick to navigate the sexuality path. Mm. He was gentle. My mother was brash and a little like, there was some eye rolls there. Mm. But I would say, when you put those two in one sentence, you are coming out on multiple fronts. And I think for them it was, where do we see harm reduction the fastest? Like, where can we implement how we raise our kid in a way where we can, reduce that harm the quickest and the best we know. Mm-hmm. And I think that they had a lot more work to do when it came to my sexuality versus saying no to drugs, which, dare speak clearly of, but that did not do much for me, apparently. So I would say I lucked out in that regard. And I will leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's interesting, is because once I found my escape, that release of use, when I used, I was coming out all over the place to everybody and anybody, but I found that a lot of people in my circles, those circles, they don't exist anymore, those ones, but they would tell me, oh, you're making that up. You are not. You're just saying that to distract from what's really going on. It was double frustrating, on the flip side too. You're not an alcoholic. You're not a drug addict. You're just running into... So it was double, like, all these people, I'm trying to come out with my truth, or what I felt was my truth at the time, and they're telling me I'm lying. Yeah. So it was this decade of just crawling into a ball and not letting anyone know who I was anymore, because I just felt like it was falling onto, ignorant people. Okay, sorry. It was just so frustrating. Yeah. And I find that, coming out in recovery is hard. And I feel like for people like yourself and people like me that do openly talk about it publicly, go to festivals and are confident. Now, I'll say it's taken me 40 years to be confident. Gives hope to those folks that are considering it. Like that, Armin? Okay, so I should be considered to the listeners. Okay, listeners, if this is your first time listening, the show's about an hour, okay? That first alarm you just heard is to remind me that this is an interactive show, because I do forget. So listeners, I encourage you, ask questions, post comments, anything that's on your mind. Put it in there. I'm watching. See, I'm looking at. There's nothing there. Everybody's quiet tonight. I know myself. I had a long weekend. But the nice thing is YouTube. That's open public. Those comments can come from wherever. Facebook, though, if you do feel some sort of reservations, you don't check that little box. You can stay anonymous. So it is open mic night for everybody. But the other question I wanted to ask you, I'm curious as to what your answer is, and it might enlighten a lot of people. And I still wonder too. So when you say queer, what does that mean to you? What are you saying for someone who's listening and has no idea what's queer mean? And it's your truth. There's no judgments here, by the way.
So I personally struggled with this word for a while. To me, queer means openly honoring that you are interested in kind of breaking the current standard of assumptions around what you might like. Mm-hmm. Not just who you might like, but what parts of yourself that you like that seem different or at odds to others, to the norm. I think queer is bending surface level truths. And I think queer is a phenomenon. I think queer lives in everyone and everything. I think queer can also evolve into mystery and put life into a context of questions that should continue. Mm-hmm. I think queer is the reason why conversations like this exist. Mm-hmm. And it's a space for me to live in that never feels stagnant. Mm-hmm. And is fluid and allows me to breathe and be receptive to change in my body and in my heart and the way I move through the world. Mm-hmm. And I love to see other people that way. It's a matter of, what environments we're given to really feel through that. To what point do we exhaust it? Mm-hmm. And it's a moment of comfort for me. But yeah, I didn't want to go to any specific meanings that I would read out of a book.
Right.
And the reason for that is because I do think it's so personal. Mm-hmm. for everyone. But yeah, that's the way I like to see it.
I love it. I love the word. I feel like and this is just me, how I see the word is queer. I love it. First of all, it makes me want to question things in a good way. It makes me think of someone who's confident, not scared to live outside the box, someone who's strong. And I definitely feel like, if I could tie that into, like right now, I've jumped into, my daughter taught me this. So I identify as pansexual, and people have asked me, well, what's that mean? And, it's what it means to me, right? That's what matters. I've looked up the definitions of some of it, and I'm just like, that's too complicated. So instead of saying bisexual, I like to say I like pansexual, because that is really how I believe, my heart is. And I'm gender blind. I don't look at a person as a man or a woman, I'm not attracted to this or that. It really is a person's charisma, their energy, their soul, their wisdom. I've been attracted to all kinds of people you would never. Some of my besties are like, what? Ooh, why? But it's that energy that they have. It's just something pulls me in. So I don't want to put some label like, oh, it's this or that, and I'm sorry, but human beings aren't always just born man or woman. Okay. So I like pansexual, because to me, I'm gender blind. I see a person not based on their sexual identity, their emotional, whatever, any of those things. I'm just looking at what they have inside. And what I would love to be like, I don't know how I would correlate that. I'm sure somebody would tell me I'm wrong, but I'd be like, queer. I'm queer pansexual. I don't know. But it's great because I finally find myself in this place that I've never been. And I do love that you talk about understanding my body. And because of trauma, that is now my focal point. I'm working on that. Emotional sobriety, my trauma. A lot of people think trauma, which I did too, is just a brain thing, but it's a nervous system thing. There's things that my body remembers that my brain doesn't for many reasons, That substance use is like, that's small peanuts compared to why my brain is wired the way it is. I disassociate. I still do that. I'm working on it. I catch myself better, but there's a lot of things I don't even remember. But my body does, and nobody explained these things to me, so I just thought I was a very messed up person. I'm never going to have this connection. But truly now, because I've finally found these beautiful circles and wonderful supportive people, now I am able to, clear-minded, clear-headed, clear-bodied, start to connect with my body. It's not easy. It's not easy. But that's why I like to say bridge recovery. It's only 2 words, okay? I don't have to go on with all the labels. But that's what it is to me, is I want to always be in recovery. Because I can be in recovery from a lot of things. And like you said as well, it's a daily thing for me. I went out there many times thinking I could do these things, but I get complacent real fast. I get in this joyous, happy stage. I'm like, oh, I'm good. And then, no, daily, I need to remind myself, just a little piece of recovery every day, whether it's a reading or hanging out with a friend. I really don't associate with many normies, let me tell you, because it's just it's a disconnect for me. A lot of people that just don't understand, but I do love recovery allies. So I think they get really weirded out by me because I'm like, oh, you're an ally, and I'm just an open book. That's the problem, is I'm too open. Like, if you're not an ally or just like openly an ally, there is that wall, because I do know there's a lot of judgments and just uneducated folks out there. But when you say you're an ally, I'm just like, oh, so you're open to me. Okay, blah, blah, blah. See their face. I'm like, ooh, I better take it back a little bit. Yeah. Take it back a little bit. Oh, we got some interactions. Okay, Grace, are you ready? Let's see. Facebook user says, love your voice. Ooh. Amen. Facebook user says, Recovery Coach Academy was so enlightening. Allies unite. Yes. Oh, Pink Cloud. Travis is on. Are you familiar with Pink Cloud Foundation? Oh, it's fantastic. They just won awards too.
Oh, wow.
They help getting people with
Pink
deposits.
Cloud.
Yes, into sober housing. Did he?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Travis is one of the founders. Of course, okay, Pink Cloud Foundation said, were there any experiences? Oh, this is a question. Were there any experiences of your coming outs, sexually and addiction, to others people, where their reactions surprised you? Oh, that's a good question. And then where maybe you were expecting, accepting, and received a negative response, or vice versa. Was one more difficult than the other? Oh, that's a great question. Now, that's a lot of questions, so just pace that out. So the first part of it was, were there any experiences of your coming out to other people where the reaction surprised you? That maybe you were expecting or accepting, but received the opposite, a negative response.
In the
Coming
recovery community?
In both things, in addiction and then as queer.
So, okay. Yes, to both. I would say I am very particular on choosing my audience. What's been really interesting, so just quick, I will say coming out, being open about my sexuality has become much easier over the years. And I will say that to anyone who might be listening to, who has just come out or hasn't yet and is worried. I mean, it has taken me years to be to the comfortability level that I'm at today. So when I am introduced with an interaction from someone else that is negative, I take it as an opportunity to learn. Not necessarily to learn more about myself in that way, but to learn where they're coming from. I've learned that hate it stems from confusion and misunderstanding, disconnect. There is less anger when it comes to confrontations than you would think. It is something that needs to be sat down with and talked through. Usually the frustration for me is when I am not believed and I am placed in a box and I'm made fun of. And that has come up and still till this day comes up a lot. And that came up a lot when I was drinking and in drinking environments. In those situations, I have to kind of put on the mask and say, I feel bad for that person who has to survive that way.
Right.
But, whether I was drinking or not, I always do put questions on the table because I don't like to leave negative or unanswered dialogue without some sort of give or push to better understand where I'm coming from and who I am, and also who that person is and where they come from. I would say addiction is another story, and I'm so new to it. That's the thing. I remember when I first started my IOP, intensive outpatient, and I struggled admitting I was an addict. I struggled naming that because it felt like such an identity. Like I was going to lose all these parts of myself by just using that one word. All of my other truths would fall away, or not be seen, as largely. Addict is has so many stigmas. I still have bias that live in me when I hear the word addict. This is why I have these conversations with people that hear gay, right? Because I understand what it means to live in an environment where you hear terms that you have direct connotations with, and that's all you know. And that's just a matter of how you're raised, right? And I think for me, what ended up happening is I had the best counselor in the world, and honestly, he knows. I've already told him he might be the best will ever have. But, he sat me down and he just said, Grace, you're so confident. You act so confident. You appear so confident. But I question where this disconnect is in your confidence of being an addict. And I was so confused by that statement. And he said, you don't feel confident when you say you're an addict. And it worries me. And not that I think, you're going to relapse or that, there's an action plan ahead, but I think you need to start really thinking about what addict means to you and the stigmas that live in it for you. And really try and lean into that so you can unpack it. So I had to do some of my own immersive work internally and with others, where I started to understand how empowering the word addict is, and that I am a proud addict, which still makes me emotional, but it's true. So when I was starting to come out in terms of naming that I'm an addict with others, I think that I realized I was letting go of the judgment that was once held in my own heart, whether it was with myself, my parents, other family members, close friends, abusers, people I've met along the way, and it's a great question and definitely is deserving of a longer answer. But I think, yeah, both have their extremes, but awesome question.
And for me, where I sit, I had 17 years of calling myself an alcoholic and an addict, and it always made me sick to my stomach. And I remember I'd get a year. I got 18 months twice, okay? So I remember feeling like, why do I have to keep calling myself this when I don't drink alcohol anymore and I don't use anymore? And I read this great book, Warriors in Recovery. And Melanie, and I've said, I'm not going to repeat it again, but there's this great freaking paragraph in the book that spells it out, and it spoke true to my heart. And she said, words matter. And what you call yourself. She actually went out to the point to say, why are we calling ourselves alcoholics and addicts? If that doesn't feel right to you, you don't have to do that. And I thought, damn it, she's right. But she goes on to say, it's a fulfilling, it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I remember on those moments when I was struggling, I would think, well, people are calling me an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. What do alcoholics do? We fucking drink. So that was not good. But I remember that key moment, having this great conversation with my friend, because, in the rooms, a lot of people they have all kinds of fun things that they say or label themselves as or whatever. And I remember saying, I wouldn't say I'm recovered, because I'll never be recovered. Just the way I am, I'm 0 to nothing. I'm an addict. I'm addicted to more of anything that makes me feel good. It could be food. It could be shopping. It could be a TV show. Okay? But it's where the key is that awareness, right? Gauging myself. But when I started saying bridge, recovery, like literally what I say it now, it just sounds fitting for me and empowering for me. And I remember in certain meetings, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to, out of respect, do this and that. And I thought, this is silly, because it's not about respect, right? It's about coming here for connection. And if I'm not connecting with myself, that's a big problem. So no matter where I go, I say bridge recovery. And I've never been pulled aside. I'm still waiting to be pulled aside. I mean, I've been pulled aside after the meeting in a positive way. Like, hey, I noticed you said this. Why do you say that? And I'm like, oh, here, let's have a conversation about it. But I've never been kicked out yet. However, I've heard of friends that have said, you need to label yourself as, you have to say this or you're not allowed to be here. I'm like, but I'm thinking, and every meeting I go to, I know is open. This is an open MF meeting. I'm just waiting. I've had these conversations in my head, just waiting for that moment. Because what I guess my point is it's important to call yourself what you feel, is true to you. And there was moments when I was whatever, but that you feel like it sticks out to me. It makes me feel proud. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel a part of something empowering and a community and this whole beautiful movement. And but what scares me is a newcomer coming into the wrong meeting at the wrong freaking time, and some person says, hey, you have to be this or that to be here. And they walk out and we never ever see them again. Yeah. So that's why it's so important for me anyway, to do my little part and say, I'm Bridge, this is recovery, and let's have a conversation. Absolutely. But I noticed a lot of meetings now that I go to, other fantastic people also say recovery. Yeah. So it is open to anyone's personal preference. Yeah. I went on a podcast and he was like, well, yeah, I could say I'm so-and-so and I'm a Red Bull addict, or whatever. It was great. But he had a good point. Yeah. So, yes, I got to back up. There's more comments. Okay, so Pink said, thanks for the topic tonight. Bridget, thanks for putting yourself out there and sharing your story out loud. Yes, Grace, happy Pride. Oh. And then another Facebook user says, very wise, son. Oh, Mahanazadi says, that's why I'm in recovery. Oh, that's why he says it too. I think he says overcomer too as well. I didn't know there's separate meetings. There's just so much going on. It also says, oh, look it. I like her. This is great. Okay, that's the hot seat alarm. Okay, let me just finish these comments. Bahada says, I'm an overcomer. Words do matter, even with the LGBTQ plus community. that I didn't mean to laugh, but he put the letters.
Yeah.
He must be texting and driving. Shame on you. Just kidding. That's why I take the time to learn. Yes. And I've taken the time to start learning Happy Pride Weekend. Yes, he was there with me.
I love that.
And Mahana says, I do not judge. And whatever works for your recovery, all pathways. Absolutely.
Love it.
And I still need multiple pathways. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
just one path ain't gonna work for me forever.
You're not alone.
Okay. Now, my assistant Sally, she usually facilitates the speaker. So it's not here. She's not here today.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to do these things from my phone. We're not gonna get into the clip. We don't even need the clip. This has been good enough, substantial enough, so that clip could be saved for another day. But it's motivational speeches, and it was talking about how to empower yourself. So I'll still post it if anybody wants to listen to it. But right now, we're gonna play the. I like to have sound effects. It makes it, I think, way more interesting. However, it's not on this device. Okay.
You got two.
Well, this one's busted and it doesn't work in the U.S. But it takes great pictures, so I refuse to get rid of it. Okay, so this one will segue us into now, I don't know what it sounds like to the listeners, but what does it sound like to you, Grace? Be honest. It won't hurt my feelings.
Right?
Oh, man. It's supposed to sound like fire. Fire burning. Look, that's
Fire
even what
burning.
it says, the fire burning sound effect. I've had, sounds like crackling of paper, sounds like popcorn. I'm going to find a correct sound. Okay, but listeners, that means it's the hot seat. It is the hot seat. Hot seat time. So that means, for the listeners, and Grace, since this is your first time, I'm going to give you 3 hot and heavy questions. Now, the idea is not to make you feel uncomfortable, or you might sweat a little bit though, but they're more deeper questions that you wouldn't just ask someone over coffee or the water cooler or whatever. And they're more meant for anyone listening out there. Something you may say and answer might be something they can connect with.
Great.
So here we go. You ready? Okay, you just get close to that mic.
Got it. Okay.
Question number 1, Grace. What was the most difficult goodbye in your life? You can think about it. Just share what you feel comfortable. You want me to answer? Oh, you got something?
Wow. Yeah, that is, you really went straight there.
Quite a few.
Okay. Whew. I think when I knew one of my best friends that I grew up with was in heavy use, and there was something in our conversation over the phone that had me feeling like I wasn't going to hear back from him. He had already been to jail multiple times, and he didn't sound like himself, and he was extremely sad. And his name was Johnny, and I think the reason it was the most difficult goodbye is that I wish I would have said more. I've learned that a lot of goodbyes I say when I know it becomes very real, it comes with a lot of intention. This goodbye was almost me knowing but hoping, and he did pass away from an overdose, and that was almost a few years ago now. That had to have been the hardest one that I still sit with. It's because it didn't feel to completion. And anyone who does know me knows that I say goodbye full on every time, no matter what, to the point of where it's annoying, actually, at times. So, yeah, that one might honestly be the toughest one for me. But, if there is another world out there or another energy that's holding him in, I know he's laughing at this. And yeah, just I do think about it often though. So yeah, you just reminded me of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a beautiful answer. Okay, let's just follow with the next one. I don't even remember when I read these. Okay, number 2. Grace, what do you struggle with the most? And I leave these vague and open to perception on purpose, because I know when I ask these questions, okay, I think of my own answers as well. But what's great is when you answer, I'm like, it could take me into a whole different level. So, where it sits today, what do you struggle with the most? Doesn't have to be something tangible. It could be something, so just open floor, open mic.
Overthinking would come first to mind, but I think, no pun intended there, but on a deeper level, I would say inadequacy on all fronts. I deeply care what other people think of me. I don't know if that's ever going to go away. But I also deeply care about other people. I think it goes both ways all the time for me. Even strangers. I just care for human beings. And I don't know where that came from. I've been like that since I was a little tiny human. And I want to feel adequate. I don't want to be the best. I'm okay at being the worst, depending on the occasion. But I want to be adequate. I want to be a part of something. And I want to feel connected. I want to feel worthy. And if I'm not in any way, I do feel like I am, there's an emptiness that I have yet to learn how to fill quickly. So there are some coping skills I've been working on to get my mind off of that, but it's certainly something that's come up, especially in recovery, that keeps coming back. I don't know what these AA meetings are doing, but I swear they're talking to each other about which ones I'm showing up to. Because that word keeps getting brought up, and it is really hitting me with these job applications specifically, and just interpersonal relationships, and the way we move through the world. I think it's a common one, but isn't talked about enough. So yeah, that's my go-to for today.
Interesting fun fact. I saw this great speech, and this woman was talking about how just culturally in our society, girls are raised to be perfect and boys are raised to be brave. And what's one thing that's common when filling out job applications or turning in resumes, men, and this is not straight across the board, right? But based on their numbers and their research, men will turn in a resume even if they don't meet all the minimal qualifications. They just put it out there. They're brave, right? But women will not turn in their resume or applications if they don't at least meet the minimum qualifications. Wow. Boom! Mind blowing. That's me! And I thought, that's so silly, because the reality is I've been on so many job interviews. I've been on the other side interviewing people. And it's really, if what's good enough on paper, it all comes down to the interview. If you feel that connection, if you feel like they're a right fit, it's not going to matter the qualifications. I've had jobs where people are like, I've told them, no, I'm not going to apply. I don't meet the qualifications. They're like, psst, it doesn't matter. They have to make it look good. Just apply. I feel like you'd be good for it. So constantly reminding myself. And for me, I'm finally at that place where I've really accepted myself as I am. Love me or hate me. But it took me realizing that there's this great jar analogy about stones and stuff. Oh, I'll talk about it next show. But it helped me realize. Oh, that's our last alarm. Okay, good. We got to wrap it up. My point was, though, I'm at this point now where I care too much sometimes for everybody else. I'm literally struggling right now financially, and I still gave my friend, I won't say her name, $80 just to make sure she could pay her rent. And I'm like 3 months behind on my rent, guys. It's okay though, because I know that she needed it more, and she doesn't have those resources that I'm on waiting list for. You know, I at least have them right at my fingertips, okay? And I knew in this moment I could help her, so I did. And she's already gave me like $40 back. So it's not like, you know, it's a person that I trust. No, I've learned my lesson, especially when it comes to money. But the reality is, when it really came down to that jar and one of those big stones that can only fit in there when you put them in first, the rest of the stuff won't fit if you don't put those big important things in first. The people that I care about and care what they think of me is my children, my besties, you know, those people that I know are unconditionally love me just as I unconditionally love them. And they deserve that, you know, like they deserve my respect and my loyalty and my love and trust, you know. And all those other people, when I went to in the ambulance, okay, I almost died, and I don't want anyone to ever have to go to that. But I remember waking up and thinking, all these people that I was stretching myself to get approval, all these people that I just wanted them to believe that I am a good person, all these people I did all these things for, none of them were there. None of them, they all turned their backs, most of them did. Or they said just awful things to me. And I realized, why the fuck do I care what they think anymore? And that was just the reality of letting all that go. It's not forever. Letting those relationships, those people go, it's not forever. And I know sometimes I come off a certain way, especially this past week of this heated arguments I've been getting into, but it's very strong to my morals and my values. And I usually don't. I'm usually neutral, but at this point, we're not going to go into it.
Yeah, we totally
I guarantee I lost some friends, quotes friends, but that's all right.
Yeah.
And you know what? I feel like at the end of the day, if they care about our friendship or they, you know, want to be in my circle and whatever, we're going to have a conversation about it, right? Like if someone hurts my feelings or I feel like I never take it personally. I'm like, oh, they're having a bad day. I give them some space. But then I'm going to approach them and say, what's really going on? You know, because time is just so priceless. Okay, last question. Thank you for your patience. Grace, question number 3. This is the last one. Shouldn't be as heavy. What do you this is a fun one, I thought. What do you consider a red flag in a person? Like a guaranteed must go the other direction, at least for now. Again, that's open. I'm not saying any kind of relationships. It could be friendships. But what do you consider a immediate red flag in a person that's a guaranteed I must go. You know, it's a flag. It's flagging you to go the other direction. Is there anything that stands out to you that you're like, no, I'm just going to go the other way for now? It's kind of a fun one. I know Sarah and I have talked about, like, instead of red flagging everybody, which is what I've been known to do, now there's a flag. Doesn't mean it's red. So there's flag, but this is directly a red flag. No, gotta set that boundary. Not gonna do it right now. Kind of person. Toxic. Could be a toxic person. I don't know.
Okay, so I would say, this is a tough one. Mm-hmm. So you have knowing prior engagement?
It could be that, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, it would probably come down to my physical safety.
Okay.
If they are abrasive and like you can tell they're trying to start a fight with every little thing. It's like they have preconceived notions or they think they have something on me. I honestly think I trust too many people. That might be my problem. But I'm learning that just is probably a poor reality to live in at times of survival. So, yeah, and kind of how people's stature are around me. Like physical stature can be a little intimidating. You know, the puffed out chest, trying to claim their space or ground. I'm just kind of like, okay.
Red flag.
It's a red flag. It's also just, and it's not that I'm scared. It's more like, there's kind of an eye roll moment, and I'm like, you can take the floor. I'm going to go sit this one out.
I love that.
I'll let you have this space if you need it that badly. But yeah, I think that then, we said we wouldn't talk about politics today.
You can. This is not.
Oh, man.
You can. I just thought maybe you didn't want to. I've been talking about politics all fucking weekend.
Well, if there's any racism, homophobic gestures, xenophobic, I mean, you name it, any IAs or icks, not about it. And at this point in my life, when we talk about caring too much about what other people think, there are certain circumstances where I draw the line.
100%.
And oftentimes it just does feel belligerent. That's the thing. So there's not even any room for conversation. Red flag. Shut it down. And I have no filter when it comes to that at this point in my life. So yeah, I would say that. Other than that, I usually give people a little bit of time, because I've come to the conclusion that I don't always show up, totally easy to walk up to. I can be kind of intimidating, and sometimes those can be red flags for people, right? So you got to lean into it a little bit. Discomfort is different than a red flag, though.
Yes.
So yeah. Wow, good question.
Yeah. I would. Man, I'm sad it's only an hour show, because I would love to go on that.
Yep.
Because there's certain people that like say ignorant ass shit like that, and I'm like, I have to still associate with them professionally, or maybe co-parenting reasons, but I can put up a flag, and I can. Well, see, I don't want to say a wall, but I will put this like flag on them. Yes, boundary. Oh, boundaries. That's my favorite word. I forgot boundary.
Boundaries.
Absolutely.
Boundaries are healthy.
And so, like, right away, there's certain words, like, right away in my head, I'm like, ooh, this is a moron I'm dealing with here.
Yep, I know.
And I don't know everything, too. And especially with recent... Okay, here's where I'm at. I had to draw the line in the sand. It just, for now, X some people out. Because I'm thinking, if they're at the point where they're putting this ignorant-ass stuff on Facebook, I even reached out to a couple just to say, hey, can you more elaborate on this, whatever. And they got defensive. I'm like, okay, this is just not even worth my time right now. And my therapist is fantastic. This is always in my brain. Bridge, I know you're right. You know you're right. Everyone, your friends, everybody knows that you're right. But that person that you try to be right to, are they hearing you? Are they thinking you're right in that moment? Okay, so is it better to be right, or is it better to be effective? And so in a conversation, that's a DBT trick, I know where I stand, and I'm sure they think they're right too, But where this conversation is going, it's not effective. So I'm not going to waste my time with it. I will definitely, if they want to, if it's worth it, whatever conversation later, let's see if it's pointful. But again, time is so limited. And I don't want to waste my energy and time on people that aren't even near to where I'm at right now. It's just a waste of my light. I feel like this big ball of energy right now, of happiness usually. And so they're sucking the energy sucker, vampires are sucking my energy. I don't have time for this. Okay. Speaking on that note, time is of the essence. Okay. So, last segment, my favorite segment. Okay. Listeners, last segment is live Facebook memes. Grace, do you know what memes are?
Yes, unfortunately, there are many of them.
There's many bad ones.
There are many bad ones.
But there are many good ones. Yeah. The ones that hit that point. I mean, you got to be a thinker to be able to use so little words and just capture that right moment. And it takes brilliancy. I'm sorry. Just to make me laugh, especially from my stomach laughing.
Personal, yeah.
There's been some good ones. But also if it's like a light bulb moment, I'm like, ooh, yeah. So it's live Facebook beam. So I'm going to flash you. So what I do during the week to just calm my nerves or whatever, just not think, okay? Just whatever, see what other people put out there. It's great. I'll screenshot my favorite ones for the week. And now I get to flash them with you. And it's so great because I've been alone at night. I can't share them with anyone. So I get to share it with you live. So like Facebook, you're going to give me your reaction, whether it's laugh out loud or thumbs up, or you can say, no, there's no reaction. I'll just skim right over this one. Or you can comment. You're free to comment too. Okay. Hopefully you haven't seen any of these, but guess what? The best part is you're going to see them on my phone, but I've now been able to, I get to share them with the listeners too. So you don't have to go into like detailed descriptions like my poor guests used to have to try to do.
Oh my God.
But I do know I do have a couple listeners that do not have video at all. So if you can try to describe it a little bit. Okay, they should be in the proper order if I did it right. And there's 8 tonight. So I used to do like crazy amounts of, now I cut them down. Okay, first one's, I always like to start with a light, funny one. So go ahead and just describe, if you do know who that person is. It's not relevant. But if you could describe the expression and go ahead and read it.
Me listening to my air conditioner run nonstop. I'm never going to financially recover from this.
It's just funny to me because it's been hot.
Good. If I could only tell you how much energy is being sucked from our house right now with the amount of ACs we have going, I cry.
Oh my gosh, and my teenagers, males especially, they're just so hot all the time anyway. And they're just miserable. And I really have to like gauge the intensity of their miserableness because I won't put it on unless I really have to because I don't cover it. It covers a lot, but it's just great. But yeah, the air's blowing and it feels great, but I'm just like, but yes, I'm not going to have extra money for my energy drinks this week. Okay, here we go. Next one. This one I just thought was perfect for today.
Love everyone, no matter what. What if they are gay? Yes, even if they ask stupid questions. That's good.
So I have had this one, Sarah. Actually, I had this one, but they didn't get to see it. I wanted everyone to see this one. So the top part, love everyone no matter what. It's Jesus, and he's speaking to his disciples, the peoples. They're like, but what if the gay? The second part is yes, even if they ask stupid questions. This is beautiful.
All are welcome.
Yes, love everyone, even when they're dummies.
Yeah, that was
okay.
good.
Oh, this was just my sixth sense of humor, but it's accurate. Just words.
At my funeral, take the bouquet off my coffin and throw it into the crowd to see
who's next.
Oh, man.
I think my close friends would be like, oh my God, that's bridge. How inappropriate. I would want a celebration.
Rally as you go. Yeah, no, I'm about it.
Right? Because it won't be happy, but like, I just want people to still remember.
Good time.
Yeah, why I was happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy to try to. Okay, I think this one's meant to be more deep.
Once a wise man was asked, what is meaning of life? He replied, life itself has no meaning. Life is an opportunity to create meaning.
Ooh.
Okay, Sarah would love this.
Okay, you don't love it?
Yeah, but it
everyone asks, what's the meaning of life, right?
Geez, yeah.
Okay.
Got some existentialism happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like, why does it have to have this meaning? I feel like everyone's meanings could be different, and I do have a theory on what I think the meaning is, but how about it's this opportunity to create a meaning for yourself?
Absolutely.
Isn't that beautiful? Mine's always changing anyway, so. Okay, here we go. Next one.
When you're approaching someone in a long hallway and you're not sure when to begin eye contact.
Oh my God. Okay, there's a picture of a guy who's like doing some like science formulas or something on there. It's just look at anxiety. This for me thinks anxiety. And sadly, this is true for me sometimes.
Sarah and I were just talking about this on the ride over here.
Really?
I stare at people.
Uh-huh.
I probably stare at them
awkwardly.
And I think I have maybe the problem. I don't know, but yeah.
Do you ever use your peripheral vision?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So like if I see someone in the corner of my eye approaching me, I'm like, do I have to say hi? Or is this person like, how am I going to do it? I don't want to make a bad impression. However, it might not be a person. I've made that mistake, and I thought it would be a person that I liked, and then I realized this person I never want to see again. So it's just, yeah. But no, but when they're really far away, especially, I know I want to say hi, but it is that immediate rejection.
That's why having the headphones is a good one.
Yes. Oh, that's yes. I do have it. Earbuds I have all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, I try to, because then when I'm looking at them and staring at them, finally I decide I'm going to like interact, and they're not looking at me. And then they look at me. It breaks my heart. When I smile and I say hi, they just keep walking. I'm like, oh, Well, hopefully they felt, because there's been times where that's happened to me. And I just didn't look at them at the right time. And I smiled too late. And I was like, oh, shoot. Don't, way overthinking. Okay, and we're going to skip this next meme because a lot of words, but I'll post it at the end. This one's just very present.
Girls just want to have basic human rights.
Yeah, funds crossed out.
Yes.
Girls just want to have funds crossed out. Basic human rights.
Oh, Lord.
How would you react on Facebook to this one?
I mean...
Thumbs up?
Oh, thumbs up.
Okay.
Oh, my God, heart.
Hearts?
Yeah.
Would you comment at all?
I think this is just such an obvious thing. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is where my eye roll comes in.
Mm-hmm.
To the fact that these memes even have to exist
Right.
in the first place. So,
And you know what's great that stuck out to me? Like, this is person that posted it or shared it. Like, she was all over the place. In a good way. She's going to be on my... Oh, she's going to be here next week.
Oh, I love it.
She's like 8 months pregnant. Her first time, you know. And she is so upset. And I love that. And she's like, I'm embarrassed that my daughter is coming into this world like this. You know, like,
Yeah.
it's unreasonable. We won't get into it, but I was just, like I said, listen to some shows on WFNU. I've just put my stance out there. Okay, this is just funny. You have work life.
Me throwing my work clothes on the floor after a long shift. Know your fucking place, trash.
Trash!
Trash. Oh, man. That is real talk.
Don't you just
right
sometimes
now.
have those days? Oh.
Almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially been a long day. You at least gotta take out some of your aggression on something.
A little bit.
Know your fucking place, trash. Ooh, that's so mean. Okay, sorry. Just trying to go. Oh, this is my favorite. Are you a snacker, Grace?
I'm becoming more of a snacker.
Mhm.
Snackle box.
It's a snackle box.
Oh my god.
So describe this one.
Oh my god. This is a
Tackle
tackle
box.
box that has an arrangement
Yeah.
of chips, meats, olives. Oh yeah.
Delicious snacks. And how that's brilliant to just carry something like that around.
This is wonderful.
Yeah, I carry all these open bags in my bags.
Some
And
people are coming to mind immediately. They truly appreciate this gesture
Mhm.
on a date. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Love it.
That's just brilliant. Okay, last one. And I do love this one.
In life, it's important to know when to stop arguing with people and simply let them be wrong.
And let them just go ahead and be wrong. Okay. And that's that right. Is it better to be right or effective,
Yeah.
right? So,
I really like that.
yeah. Well, thanks, Grace.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I so appreciated this.
And we'll just see if there's any final. Okay, no, it's quiet. And thank you, listeners. And, I absolutely would love to have you back because, we just barely scratched the surface on things. But I hope everybody enjoyed. I hope everybody had a great weekend.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride! Oh my gosh, it's not done for me.
No.
I just hope I can get this tattoo off. Some of these are on pretty good. That it's a scrub.
Oh God.
I looked at pictures of myself earlier, and you can't tell that it's a beautiful rainbow. It looks like a blob.
I thought it was permanent when you first started walking up.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
was gonna say,
Yeah, I got them online. They're great. Oh, I should have came to our table. I was putting them on people if they would let me touch them.
I love it.
But yeah, anyway, thanks, listeners. Hope you had a great weekend. Happy Pride to all my folks in all recoveries, communities, and LGBTQ. See, now, I feel like I'm going to keep saying it wrong. Plus, and any final shout outs or anything? Any last thoughts? Otherwise, we're going to shut it down.
Just wanted to say thank you to all the folks in recovery that I've met along the way. You guys are the reason I'm here. One of my best friends, Zoe, who might be listening, partner of mine for a long time, and my folks, you guys are amazing, and happy Pride to everyone who will continue to hear this. Hope you all are staying healthy.
Oh, and shout out to Sarah.
Oh my God.
She's the one that
And
connected
Sarah,
us.
I love you
I don't know
wherever
what she
you
said
are.
to you about me, but she kept saying all these wonderful things, and I'm like, okay, yes, I can't wait to meet her. And so, when we awkwardly met,
Yeah.
I felt awkward because I had miscommunicated some things to you. I was like, oh man, I already made a bad impression.
No, you did not.
But like it took 2 seconds, like okay, 2 minutes where I'm like, oh, yep, I know everything Sarah's just saying it's truth. I never question her. And so I'm so glad that we got to
I am
meet.
too.
And you just see, you must trust Sarah too, because you just
Oh,
like came
Sarah's
right onto the
amazing.
podcast.
Yeah, Sarah saved me for sure.
Yes.
I wouldn't be here also I wouldn't feel the way I do today without her.
Yeah, same.
100%.
I don't think words can really express how much I love her.
Yes,
Like
agreed.
she's sitting at my house right now making sure this happened
Yeah.
tonight. Like she's just there.
Yes.
She makes me, I mean, it gives me hope because she just makes, I don't feel like okay, the whole worthy thing, I don't feel like I'm worthy to be your friend. Because she's so wonderful.
Oh.
But I know she probably, I'm sure she'd be like, Bridge, shut up. But that's the thing, like she's just genuinely like there.
Well, she's also very particular with who she lets in.
That
You're
is
one of
true.
them, so
I feel honored.
there you go.
Right?
You got that.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully she heard this, but she never listens, so she'll hear it
She'll
later.
listen to it
I'm
again,
gonna
yeah.
tell her we gave her all the shout outs. All right. Enough rambling.
Love you guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I have inspirational music, which gives us 2 minutes to pack up. Okay, here we go. Oh, where is it? Returning home.